This is a production of West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Support for the Legislature Today is provided by West Virginia University, offering education, healthcare, and the opportunity to achieve career success since 1867. Information at wvu.edu.
Sonesta Suites in Charleston, an extended stay hotel located near the airport, downtown, and the state capitol. More at sonesta.com.
Solar Holler, supporting Appalachian communities and building on West Virginia's history of powering the nation by bringing solar energy and battery backup to homeowners, nonprofits, and businesses throughout the region. More at solarholler.com.
Welcome to the Legislature Today. I'm Curtis Tate. Today is the 30th day of the 60-day session. We are at the midpoint, and there will be a series of deadlines legislators have to meet beginning next week to get legislation introduced and moving. The Senate Energy, Industry, and Mining Committee passed Senate Bill 505 Thursday. It would encourage, though not require, the West Virginia Public Service Commission to favor fossil fuels and nuclear over renewables. West Virginia already gets 90% of its electricity from coal, but lawmakers want to discourage utilities from building more wind and solar projects. Charlotte Lane, the commission's chair, pushed back.
At the Public Service Commission is to make sure that the lights stay on, and that means that we are very cognizant of the fact that reliability is very, very important, and we take that very seriously. I will first say that this bill, I'm sure, has a really good intention. But to the extent that I'm supposed to understand it, it is very difficult to understand what it is trying to get to. And having said that, except for the additional administrative burden of filing a lot of reports and keeping all of these reports, everything in this bill we already have currently jurisdiction to do.
No one spoke in opposition to SB 505. It now goes to the Government Organization Committee. The West Virginia House of Delegates passed an amended House Bill 2354 that would ban certain food dyes in West Virginia. The House did make a change to the bill's title, sending it back to the Senate for final approval and then to the governor's desk. Also in the House today, the body rejected a bill that would have allowed corporations to make contributions to political campaigns. As Jack Walker reports, the idea faced bipartisan pushback.
House Bill 2719 would have allowed corporations to donate up to $2,800 to an individual campaign, plus $5,000 to a political action committee during an election cycle. Corporations are currently prohibited from financing campaigns per the West Virginia Code. Under state law, large campaign contributions generally must be reported to the State Election Commission or the Secretary of State. Corporation contributions above $250 would have required donating corporations to disclose things like their address and primary type of business. The bill's lead sponsor was Delegate Mike Hornby, a Republican from Berkeley County. He said the bill's initial intent was to authorize minor campaign contributions from businesses.
I think a candidate should be able to have a business support them in their elections.
But during House floor arguments over the bill Thursday, House Minority Leader Sean Hornbuckle, a Democrat from Cabell County, said he worried corporate involvement would muddy the democratic process.
No one at home wants more money in politics. We have this fascination with money and greed. And what happens is we don't get elected officials based upon merit or what they can do. It just becomes a rich man's game. That's all it is. And so effectively, we're not representing the people at home because it's going to the highest bidder.
Concerns over the bill also came from Hornby's own party. Delegate Henry Dillon, a Republican from Wayne County, said he worried companies could outpace actual voters in campaign funding.
When we think about whether or not they're even considering putting $2,800 toward influencing an election, or whether they're thinking about putting their $2,800 toward purchasing groceries for that week, or gasoline, or, their electric bill, or any of a number of other uses.
Ultimately, concerns over the bill won out, and a majority of delegates voted it down. 54 delegates voted against the bill. 41 voted in favor of it, and 5 lawmakers were absent. For the Legislature Today, I'm Jack Walker.
Several bills being considered by the legislature this year have reignited a long-running debate about who has ultimate control over the state's schools. Chris Schultz has more.
House Bill 2548 would bring the West Virginia Department of Education under rulemaking review of the legislature. Critics of the bill have likened it to Amendment 4, which voters rejected in a ballot measure during the 2022 general election. However, Wednesday afternoon, a committee substitute substantially changed the bill, shifting focus to the state superintendent specifically and granting oversight to the Legislative Oversight Commission on Educational Accountability, the interim committee better known as LOCIA. Jim Brown, executive director for the West Virginia School Board Association, told the House Education Committee that the state superintendent is considered the executive of the State Board of Education, and the bill could still run afoul of the 1988 State Supreme Court ruling, West Virginia Board of Education v. Heckler.
West Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals ruled that rulemaking by the State Board of Education is within the meaning of general supervision of state schools pursuant to Article 12, Section 2 of the West Virginia Constitution. Any statutory provision that interferes with such rulemaking is unconstitutional.
House Bill 2548 was advanced, at which point another bill seeking legislative oversight of state schools, House Bill 2755, was taken up for discussion. Delegate Mike Hornby, a Republican from Berkeley County, and the bill's lead sponsor, said he believed the Heckler decision was made in error and code does allow for legislative supervision of state schools. Delegate Mike Pushkin, a Democrat from Kanawha County, questioned whether Hornby was inviting legal action against the bill.
The way I understand it, you're going to run it anyway and see if somebody will go to court. Yes. And you think that you'll get the Board of Ed or Heckler overturned? Is that the point of this bill? Yeah. Okay. This will be honest, yeah.
Pushkin went on to ask why voters rejecting Amendment 4 in 2022 was not a sufficient decision on the issue.
In the Eastern Panhandle in my county, we absolutely voted for this, which is why I'm running this. And I think there were other political figures and things that were happening in the state, and a lot of things were said about this. There were 4 amendments on there. People didn't understand what it was, and the people in my county are asking for this. They ask for this every single day.
Both bills will be up for a vote to advance them to the full House at the House Education Committee's next meeting Friday. For the Legislature Today, I'm Chris Schultz.
On Wednesday, the House of Delegates passed a Department of Environmental Protection rule package. The bill included a change that could allow more pollutants in streams in the state. Brianna Heaney has more.
The engrossed committee version of House Bill 2233 contains a change to permitting standards for small streams in the state. Delegate Bob Fehrenbacher, a Republican from Wood County, voted in favor of the bill. He says the bill still puts multiple hurdles in front of entities that would discharge pollutants into rivers and streams.
If somebody wanted to make an application to change the category from A to something less, that has to be submitted to the DEP. There's a public comment period, followed by review by the DEP, followed by review by the federal EPA, and then, frankly, it has to come back to the legislature as an emergency rule, at which time we could say, yes, we support this, or no, we do not.
Delegate Evan Hansen, a Democrat from Monongalia County, introduced an amendment that would have changed the bill back to its original form and thrown out the amendment that allows certain companies to apply for a permit to increase pollution into some streams.
And my amendment will bring it back to the original version.
He said that Chemours, a chemical manufacturer, has been lobbying for many years to have this permitting process added. Fehrenbacher used to be employed by Chemours as a chemical engineer. Delegate Clay Riley, a Republican from Harrison County, urged legislators to vote no to Hansen's strike and insert amendment. He said the bill won't affect sources that are currently being used for drinking water.
In accordance with the Clean Water Act, designated uses cannot be removed if there are existing uses that are currently being, such as if there's a public water withdrawal for public water supply on that stream, they can't be changed if there is an existing public water withdrawal, public supply. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you yielding.
But Hansen said those are the wrong questions to be asking. While the bill may align with current EPA standards, it ultimately could lead to more pollutants in West Virginia rivers and creeks.
The important questions are whether this bill, as it comes to us today, will allow for more toxic pollution to be discharged into our rivers and streams. In fact, I will predict to you that in this debate today, nobody will contradict that statement. How do I know that these pollutants are toxic? Because what this bill does is it allows for the removal of Category A use protections in certain circumstances. And Category A is all about protecting human health. It's all about those pollutants that are dangerous to people. And many of those pollutants are carcinogens. They cause cancer. It's in black and white. It's in the rule. It even has a footnote for the carcinogen, so you could go check for yourself. I counted about 39 carcinogens that this bill will impact. So again, this bill, unless it's amended, will allow for an increase in the amount of toxic pollution.
Delegate Sean Hornbuckle, a Democrat from Cabell County, said that with the state already struggling to maintain clean drinking water, it should not be rolling back environmental protections.
And in my talks with those folks down there, and I'm sure the gentleman from the 36 contest, whether it was McDowell, Mingo, Mercer, Wyoming, Logan, they couldn't even wash their items. That water had black, orange, yellow sludge in it. No clean drinking water. And so again, any measure that this body can take to protect our drinking water, we need to act upon that.
The amendment failed, and the engrossed committee version of the bill passed the next day. Richard Altizer is one of the many residents in southern West Virginia that hails from a community that has largely lost access to clean drinking water. He says his community has been facing multiple environmental issues that have harmed residents' health. He says he hasn't had any help from the Department of Environmental Protections or the DEP.
I've showed them to people. They don't seem to care. The DEP broke their own regulations when they just piped it right into Indian Creek, which got into people's wells. We have another community right around the corner that their wells were sunk. Nobody done anything about it. They had to spend thousands of dollars to re-drill their wells and buy new filter systems. And now coal's starting to come through their water again. We're finding methane gas coming out in the mountains.
Due to mining in the area, murky, slimy, and orange water has been coming out of the ground and flowing into nearby creeks and streams. Those streams and creeks eventually meet with the Tug Fork and Guyandotte River, which flows to the Ohio River, which is used for drinking water. He says with this ongoing crisis, it's a major blow to have environmental regulations rolled back even more by legislators.
I don't know how any senator or congressman can wake up in the mornings and decide that it's okay, we're going to pollute a river today. That to me, that's not a leader. A leader wakes up in the mornings and asks, how can I make life better for people?
While that community is still looking for answers, this bill is headed over to the Senate for consideration. The Senate has the ability to change the bill or pass it as it is. For West Virginia Public Broadcasting, I'm Brianna Heaney at the Capitol.
Earlier today, Eric Douglas spoke with Delegate Cathie Hess Crouse, a Republican from Putnam County, and Senate Minority Leader Mike Woelfel from Cabell County about the issue of child care in the state and how it is a personal and economic development issue.
Welcome to the Legislature Today. I'm here with Delegate Cathie Hess Crouse and Senator Mike Woelfel. I know you're from Cabell County. I'm sorry I've forgotten.
Putnam County.
Putnam, that's right. Should have known that. We're here to talk about childcare, and not. There's always the confusion. You talk about childcare. We're not talking about CPS and foster care. That's a separate
issue. Yes.
Separate issue. We're talking about. It's an economic issue. It's families needing help. It's people working in childcare situations. They can do better going to Sheets or something than they can work in a childcare facility. So, Delegate Crouse, I'll start with you. I know you've introduced 3 bills. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We talked about this before. About 10 bills, but 3 that have actually started moving through the process. So can you talk about the bills that you've introduced and why you think they're important to relieve the issue for child care?
Yes, so 2 of them are kind of similar to each other, but they're looking at a tri-share type where the employer pays 1/3 of the cost, the employee pays 1/3 of the cost, and then the state pays 1/3 of the cost to help alleviate some of that cost and get parents to be able to go back to work if that's what they want to do. So that's one of the big ones that we're trying to work on. There is a pilot program currently out, and I don't have a list of those current counties. Putnam County happens to be one of them, though. Okay. There's 8 counties total in that pilot program. It just started up last month. So we'll wait and see what the data shows, but we'd like to get this started statewide. Sure. So that would be very helpful. And then another one that we're hoping to see move, that one there would be 2730, and then 2780 is one that it allows for anybody who's working in a child care facility that the state would pay for their child care. Oh, and okay. So because they have the lower wage, this would be an incentive to allow them to work and have their own children taken care of while they're helping to take care of others' children. So it would help get them back to work, have their children in daycare or child care, and it's beneficial to the employers also of the child care facility because it enables them to get more workers in, which is a big shortage right now because, as you said, the wages aren't very high.
The wages aren't very high, but at the same time, if I'm paying for child care, it's expensive and prohibitive to actually work rather than caring for my children.
Well, and that's why I personally left the workforce 21 years ago because of child care issues. I had given birth to my 4th son. My other kids were older, so they were in school, but I needed one for my youngest son. And by the time it was all said and done, I was probably going to be putting in 10 or 11-hour days between taking him to child care and working my 8-hour shift and paying for child care. Out of that money, I was going to make maybe a quarter to 50 cents an hour. Right. So it wasn't worth it. And then when my 5th child came along, my daughter, it would have cost me more than I would make to even work. So I left the workforce at that time.
You're paying for the privilege to work for somebody else.
Yes, exactly.
And not be with your kids.
Exactly. So I left the workforce 21 years ago because of child care. So I know it's even worse today. And it's something that we need to fix for parents, allowing them to get back, keep their careers, and if they want to get back into the workforce, to do so.
Senator? Yeah.
Well, I've been here. This is my 11th session, and what I've learned, excuse me, is that it's always a matter of priorities. So, for example, the last governor found $15 million to put into a college baseball park. If you have a priority, there's money there for it, period. And there always has been, at least as long as I've been here. Child care should be a priority. We're dead last in our workforce participation. Our child poverty rate is 25%. And you have people that are raising young children, people that are raising their grandchildren that need to work. And to me, I haven't heard a word about child care other than among the members, and it's not a priority. One bill that I have and have had in the past is a refundable tax credit. In other words, when you pay out all this money for child care, you should get a benefit when you file your taxes, like a credit of part of the money you paid, maybe half. And my bill is means tested. I don't want to give a tax break to somebody making $200,000 a year. We're doing that right now. We have a non-refundable tax credit. So the people that I'm trying to help are making 50 grand, 40 grand, 30 grand. They get no benefit from the child care tax credit. Why? Because their money is their taxes are withdrawn from their check, and they are paying more than they owe. They're getting a refund, so they don't owe the state a liability. So, and let me just say this. Thank you for having us on and shedding light on this. People around the state are paying close attention to this session. R's, D's, and independents. I hear from them every day. We heard on the Senate floor yesterday that our people aren't engaged and aren't paying attention. Yes, they are. And they don't like the priorities that are being run here. And child care, thanks to the delegate, she's a great voice for this in the House. And I'm trying to be a voice for that in the Senate. But we're getting no results, are we, delegate? Nothing.
So far,
Zero. It's not a priority. Not a priority.
I wanted to talk about the tax credit. So last fall, the previous governor called a special session. One of the issues on it, October, I believe, was the early October, late September. One of the issues was supposed to be child care.
Right.
We're going to fix child care. You did end up passing that tax credit, right? Or was that earlier?
It's an illusion. That tax credit, I mean, again, if you
it's
want
like $1,500.
If you want to subsidize the people that are making a lot of money, it was a good bill. If you want to get people that the wife that wants to go to work along with her husband, if you want to incentivize them to go to work, as the delegate said, we should be able to give them a break that they can see, that they can benefit from, and we haven't done that. And, you know, we claim we want to engage in economic development. This is economic development. If that grandparent raising the child has to stay home and can't work, that's the workforce. That's why we don't have a real workforce.
Well, that's actually thank you for that segue. I wanted to talk about economic development. We talk about, I actually remember he was Secretary Carmichael at the time, former Senator Carmichael, in an economic development committee saying flat out, we need child care if we're going to move this state forward, that we needed economic development. So, I mean, is that the way to spin it? To get more attention, to get more gravity behind it, is an economic development package?
Absolutely, because if our parents, if they want to go, I'm not looking to force parents or moms to go back to work, but if we want to get back into the workforce, we have to have some place safe to take our kids. We have to have someplace affordable, because as in my situation 21 years ago, it just wasn't affordable. It really wasn't accessible because of how much it cost. So we need to have that available so they can get back into the workforce. And with that coming, if you get them in the workforce, they're going to be paying taxes. They're going to be out buying more food, more clothes for their kids, more vehicles, more everything, which increases our tax base. It increases the economics of all across the state in every aspect. So we need to get them back to work, able to work with affordable child care for their children.
Let me add this, and I agree with everything you said. People in our state are paying attention. They are tired of culture wars. They want things done here, like the delegate mentioned, to make people's lives better, to bring people to live here. It's that simple, and we're at the halfway point today, and we haven't done a damn thing for economic development. We haven't helped these people that want to get back into the workforce, as the delegate said. We haven't done economic development. We're fighting these national culture wars that don't elevate the lives of our citizens and really kind of run people out of here and deter people from coming here.
You look like you wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, we have new businesses coming in, large businesses, and one of the deciding factors for the people to come here and work or to stay here and work is, okay, where are my kids going to go to school? Where are my kids going to go to childcare? And things like that. So we need to have all this available.
I was actually just thinking that with Nucor, for example, that's the big 800-pound gorilla right now. they're going to bring in a couple thousand employees. Some of those will be West Virginians, some will be people moving here. We got to look at the schools that they're going to. Not saying anything about Mason County schools, but they're going to need some help if suddenly they get a huge influx of kids. They're going to need child care for the younger children, whatever. Yeah, we need to, and I'm sorry, that's not my place, but we need to support those avenues. And I'll say we've just got about 2 minutes left.
Places like Newport, I believe they are going to be setting up an on-site daycare, but that's also going to be limited too for if the employee lives close by, if they live further away and they have other obligations, they may have to have a child further away in child care instead of on-site. I know Toyota is getting ready to put in a child care facility, but again, for Toyota, we have people coming in from Kentucky, Ohio, Beckley area, and for them to have their children up here in Putnam County at where they work at might not be feasible to them. They really need it where they're at, down in the Beckley area or wherever else it might be, because maybe somebody else needs to pick them up after school or what have you. So we have a lot to look at.
Senator, I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds.
All right, so those that are watching tonight, I'm going to say this to you. If you don't like the priorities, and if you agree with the delegate and I, please reach out to your representative, reach out to your state senators, reach out to your delegate. We need the priorities adjusted here so we can help the folks that want to get to work. We can help them in so many ways. We can elevate our economy. Thank you for having me on.
Appreciate it for both of you. Thank you. Hope you come back later in the session.
Yeah,
anytime.
That was Delegate Cathie Hess Crouse and Senator Mike Woelfel speaking with Eric Douglas about child care as an economic development issue and legislation that has been introduced in the House of Delegates to begin solving the problem. One final note. In yesterday's show, we incorrectly identified Senator Tom Willis as being from Fayette County. He's from Berkeley County. We apologize. That's it for tonight. Thank you for joining us. Catch the Legislature Today Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. I'm Curtis Tate. Good evening and see you again here tomorrow.
Support for the Legislature Today is provided by West Virginia University, offering education, healthcare, and the opportunity to achieve career success since 1867. Information at wvu.edu.
Sonesta Suites in Charleston, an extended stay hotel located near the airport, downtown, and the state capitol. More at sonesta.com.
Solar Holler, supporting Appalachian communities and building on West Virginia's history of powering the nation by bringing solar energy and battery backup to homeowners, nonprofits, and businesses throughout the region.